The October moon cast silver shadows across the rolling hills of Riverside Ranch as Elena Rodriguez adjusted her night vision scope. From her position in the old barn's hayloft, she had clear sightlines down the gravel road cutting through her Montana property. 4 vehicles approached in tactical formation, their headlights creating ghostly trails through the dust. 6 hostiles, all armed, Eleanor whispered into her throat mic. 2 in the lead truck, single occupants in the others. Jake Sullivan's voice crackled through her earpiece from his position at the southern perimeter. Copy that. Remember, we need one alive. And they need Sophia alive, which gives us leverage, Elena replied, her jaw tight. She glanced at the hidden entrance to the underground facility beneath the barn floor, knowing her daughter waited in safety 15 feet below. The reinforced concrete room didn't appear on any property records, just as Miguel had intended when he'd selected this location 6 months ago. The vehicles slowed as they approached the farmhouse, their headlights sweeping across the weathered wooden exterior. Elena's finger moved to the trigger guard, not quite ready but close. They're stopping short of the motion sensors, she reported. Professional, military trained, just like we suspected, Jake confirmed. Victor Cross doesn't hire amateurs. The lead vehicle's door opened, and Elena recognized the tall figure emerging into the moonlight. Victor Cross himself, the supposed real estate developer who'd been systematically acquiring property throughout Glacier County. Tonight would be his last land deal. 6 months earlier, Riverside Ranch had seemed like the perfect sanctuary. 200 acres of fertile Montana farmland, close enough to the small town of Millbrook for necessities, remote enough for privacy. Elena had signed the papers 3 days after burying Miguel at Arlington with full military honors. The official report listed Master Chief Miguel Rodriguez's death as a training accident during night exercises. The details were classified, the explanations vague. The closed casket told Elena everything the Navy wouldn't. As she and Sophia first drove up the long driveway to their new home, the April sun had painted the sprawling ranch house in golden light. The 2-story structure dated to the 1950s, its white paint weathered but solid, with a wraparound porch that sagged slightly at one corner. Behind it, a large red barn stood watch over fields that stretched to the horizon. "It's so big, Mom," Sophia had whispered from the passenger seat, her voice hollow. The past month had transformed her from a vibrant 8-year-old into a shadow of herself. "Room to breathe," Elena had replied, squeezing her daughter's hand. "Room to heal." They were unpacking when their first visitor arrived. An ancient Ford pickup rumbled down the dirt road, slowing as it approached. Eleanor positioned herself between the vehicle and Sophia, her hand instinctively reaching for where her service weapon would have been. The truck stopped, and an elderly man emerged, tall despite his years, with white hair and a deeply lined face that spoke of decades under the Montana sun. He wore faded overalls and moved with the careful deliberation of someone managing old injuries. "You must be the new owners," he called, maintaining respectful distance. "Frank Murphy. I'm your neighbor to the east." "Elena Rodriguez," she replied, not moving from her protective stance. "This is my daughter, Sophia." Frank's keen eyes took in the moving truck, the tension in Elena's shoulders, the hollow-eyed child half hidden behind her mother. "Well, Miss Rodriguez, I brought you something." He reached slowly into the truck bed and lifted out a basket covered with checkered cloth. "My late wife's recipe. Figured moving day calls for something home-cooked." The scent of fresh bread reached them as he approached. Elena felt Sophia relax slightly behind her. "That's very kind, Mr. Murphy." "Frank, please," he corrected, setting the basket on the porch railing. "Nobody's called me Mr. Murphy since I mustered out in '48. Elena's assessment shifted instantly. You served... Something passed between them, a recognition that transcended generations. Army, 82nd Airborne, his weathered face creased in a smile. Jumped into Normandy, but that's ancient history. He glanced at Sophia. Probably not appropriate mealtime conversation. Elena nodded, understanding passing between them. Would you like to come in for coffee? Frank shook his head. Another time. You folks get settled. But if you need anything, directions, recommendations, or just want to know which locals to avoid, I'm just down the road. As he turned to leave, he paused. Riverside Ranch is a good place to start over, Miss Rodriguez. Quiet. People mind their own business. His sharp eyes met hers. Most people, anyway. That night, after Sophia had fallen asleep in her new bedroom, Eleanor descended to the basement. The previous owner had left it unfinished. Bare concrete floors and exposed beams. Perfect for Elena's purposes. She pried up floorboards in the corner, revealing a metal footlocker she'd buried during her pre-purchase inspection. Inside lay the tools of her former trade, a disassembled M24A2 sniper rifle, her modified Colt 1911.45 ACP, a gift from Miguel on their 5th anniversary, and several other items the federal government would be very interested to know were missing. Elena removed the handgun, checking the action with practiced efficiency before loading it. The weight was familiar, comforting in its lethality. She wasn't officially active duty anymore, hadn't been since Sophia was born, but some skills never faded. She secured the weapon in a hidden compartment beneath the kitchen sink before heading upstairs. Pausing in Sophia's doorway, she watched her daughter's peaceful sleep. I'll keep you safe, Elena whispered to the darkness. Whatever it takes. The town of Millbrook announced itself with a faded billboard proclaiming it Montana's hidden gem since 1887. The peeling paint suggested the gem remained well hidden. Elena drove slowly down Main Street, noting the mix of storefronts, some vibrant, others boarded up. The recession had hit hard here. A hardware store, a diner, a small supermarket, and a dollar store anchored the four corners of the town square. A brick building with a flagpole displayed a sign identifying it as both town hall and sheriff's department. Can we get ice cream? Sophia asked, pointing to a small parlor with striped awning. After we get groceries, Elena promised. Inside the supermarket, the middle-aged cashier smiled warmly. You must be the folks who bought the old Riverside place. Elena nodded. News travels fast. It's about the only thing that does around here, the woman laughed. I'm Martha. My husband Frank and I own this place. Elena Rodriguez. This is my daughter Sophia. Martha's eyes softened as she looked at Sophia. Welcome to Millbrook, honey. We've got a good school here. Mrs. Patterson teaches 4th grade. She's wonderful with children. As if summoned, the door chimed, and a tall man in a tan sheriff's uniform entered. He moved with easy confidence, his weathered face serious beneath regulation short salt and pepper hair. Jim, come meet our newest residents, Martha called. Sheriff James Crawford approached, his keen gray eyes assessing Eleanor with professional recognition. Law enforcement could identify military just as she could spot a cop in civilian clothes. Sheriff James Crawford, he introduced himself. Elena Rodriguez, my daughter Sophia. Riverside Ranch, right? Good piece of land. Needs work, though. We're up for the challenge. He nodded, seemingly satisfied. Town's quiet, Miss Rodriguez. We like it that way. So do we. That's why we're here. Something flickered in his expression. Not quite suspicion, but reserved judgment. Well, if you need anything, my office is across the street. As they loaded groceries, Elena noticed Crawford watching from the store window. She also spotted a sleek black Cadillac Escalade parked down the street, a heavy-set man in an expensive suit leaning against it, making no effort to hide his interest. After securing Sophia in the passenger seat, Elena approached the ice cream parlor, positioning herself to keep the man in her peripheral vision. He straightened as she passed, smoothing his tie with manicured hands. "Miss Rodriguez," he called, his voice cultured and confident. "A moment of your time?" Elena paused, maintaining distance. "Do I know you?" "Not yet." His smile revealed perfect teeth. "Victor Cross. I own Cross Development." He extended a business card which Elena didn't take. "I've been acquiring property in the area, creating opportunities. I'm not selling, Mr. Cross." His smile didn't waver, but something cold entered his eyes. "I haven't made an offer yet." "Save yourself the trouble." Cross straightened his jacket. "The Riverside property has significant potential. I'm prepared to be very generous. And I'm prepared to be very clear," Eleanor replied evenly. "The ranch isn't for sale." "Not now. Not ever." A calculated pause. "Things change, Miss Rodriguez. Especially in this economy. Ranching isn't easy for established operations, let alone." His gaze flicked to Sophia, waiting in the truck. Newcomers, with no experience. The implicit threat wasn't lost on Elena. She stepped closer, entering his personal space with controlled aggression. "Let me be perfectly clear, Mr. Cross. I bought that land to give my daughter stability after losing her father. We're not leaving, not for any price." She met his gaze directly. "And I don't appreciate implied threats against my family." Cross's expression hardened briefly before smoothing back into professional pleasantness. "No threats, Miss Rodriguez, just economic reality." He stepped back, adjusting his gold cufflinks. "We'll speak again." Eleanor watched him drive away, memorizing the license plate automatically. Something about Cross raised every alarm bell in her threat assessment system. They stopped for ice cream as promised. Sophia chose chocolate with sprinkles, momentarily brightened by the simple pleasure. Eleanor smiled, treasuring these glimpses of her daughter's former self. "Do you think school will be okay?" Sophia asked as they drove home. Eleanor chose her words carefully. "It might be strange at first, being the new kid, but you'll make friends." "Like we made friends with Mr. Murphy?" "Exactly like that." Sophia was quiet for a moment. "Dad would have liked the ranch," she said finally. Eleanor swallowed hard. Yes, he would have. They were almost home when Elena noticed a black sedan with government plates parked off the county road, partially hidden by trees. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Everything okay, Mom?" Elena forced her expression neutral. "Just fine, sweetheart." The next morning, Elena drove Sophia to Millbrook Elementary for registration. Inside, they met the secretary and then Sophia's teacher, Claire Patterson, a woman in her late 30s with intelligent eyes and a warm smile. While Sophia explored the classroom, Claire spoke quietly to Elena. The secretary mentioned Sophia lost her father recently. "I'm so sorry." Eleanor nodded, appreciating the straightforward acknowledgement. "It's been tough on her. We're hoping the move gives her a fresh start. Children are remarkably resilient," Claire said, "but they need stability, routine. We'll do everything we can to help her adjust." After completing registration, Elena drove to the bank to open accounts. Millbrook National occupied a stately brick building, its interior modern despite historical details. As Elena filled out forms, she became aware of someone watching her. A security guard stood by the entrance, his posture military straight despite the civilian uniform. When their eyes met, recognition flashed between them. Jake Sullivan. Elena hadn't seen him since Miguel's funeral. The coincidence was too great to be chance. She finished her paperwork mechanically, mind racing. As she approached the exit, Jake stepped forward. "Ma'am, you drop this," he said formally, extending a business card with a handwritten number on the back. "Thank you." Their eyes met again, a silent exchange invisible to observers. "Contact me. Secure line. Urgent." Sophia's first day of school arrived with September optimism. Elena helped her choose an outfit, packed her lunch, and tried to project confidence she didn't feel. "Remember, I'll pick you up at 3:15 sharp," Elena said as they pulled up to the school. Sophia nodded, clutching her new backpack. "What if the other kids don't like me?" "Be yourself. The right friends will find you." Elena tucked a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. "And Sophia, it's okay to have fun. Dad would want that." After Sophia disappeared inside, Eleanor drove to the outskirts of town and parked behind an abandoned gas station. She dialed the number Jake had given her. He answered immediately. "Secure line." "What are you doing here, Jake?" Eleanor demanded. "Could ask you the same thing. Of all places, why here?" "You know why. Fresh start. Away from everything." "Not as away as you think, Eleanor." Jake's voice was tight. "Miguel was investigating something before he died. Something big." Cold dread pooled in Elena's stomach. "Explain!" "Not on the phone. Meet me. Old grain silo off County Road 15. 1 hour." The silo stood abandoned in a field of tall grass, rust bleeding down its metal sides. Elena approached cautiously, finding Jake in the structure's shadow. "You're being watched," he said without greeting. "Miguel was onto something before he died. He was investigating a leak, classified weapons technology being sold to foreign interests." Eleanor's breath caught. "The training accident." "Was no accident. Miguel contacted me the night before, said he'd identified the source." Jake's eyes met hers. "Said he was sending you insurance." Eleanor's mind raced. "I never received anything." "You sure? No packages? Nothing out of the ordinary?" She started to shake her head, then stopped. "The ranch. He suggested it, said it had good bones for what we needed." Understanding dawned in Jake's expression. He hid something there, something worth killing for. Cross-development isn't just buying land, Elena. They're building infrastructure, the kind perfect for moving things across borders without scrutiny. Elena thought of Victor Cross's expensive suit, his cold calculation. "You think he's connected to Miguel's death?" "I think nothing in this town is what it seems, including the accident that landed me here 3 weeks before you arrived." The implications settled over Elena like a shroud. Her safe haven was potentially compromised. "What now?" she asked. "We find what Miguel hid." "Before they do." That afternoon, Elena waited outside the school, scanning for threats. When the bell rang, children streamed out. Sophia was not among them. Elena approached the entrance, tension coiling. Inside, she found Claire Patterson looking concerned. "Elena, I was about to call you. There was an incident at recess." Fear spiked through Elena's chest. "Where's Sophia?" "In my classroom. She's all right, just upset." Elena found Sophia sitting alone, a bruise forming on her cheek. "Sophia?" Elena rushed forward. "What happened?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Tyler Cross said I didn't belong here, that we should go back where we came from." Eleanor looked to Claire for explanation. "Tyler Cross is Victor Cross's nephew," Claire said quietly. "He and his friends surrounded Sophia during recess. When she tried to leave, Tyler pushed her." Cold fury rose in Elena's throat. "Where is Tyler now?" "His uncle picked him up early. Dental appointment." Elena knew better. As they walked to the truck, she noticed Tyler Cross and 2 other boys across the street, staring at them through a window. "Ignore them," Elena advised, though her instincts screamed for confrontation. Sophia nodded, focusing on her ice cream sundae. "Mom, why does Mr. Cross want our ranch so badly?" Sometimes people want things just because they can't have them, and sometimes they want them for secret reasons. Sophia's gaze returned to the window. I think Tyler has secret reasons for being mean. He seemed scared when he pushed me, like someone was making him do it. The observation was astute and troubling. Using children as pawns ignited something primal in Elena's protective instincts. On the drive home, Elena noticed the same black SUV from earlier maintaining distance. She made a sudden decision, turning onto a dirt access road through a cornfield. The SUV hesitated, then followed. Elena smiled grimly, exactly as she'd hoped. She navigated the winding path until they emerged on a county road, then made a sharp turn. The SUV miscalculated, its front wheels sinking into the drainage ditch. Why are they following us? Sophia asked. Eleanor chose temporary reassurance over frightening truth. Some people are just nosy, but they're not very good at it. By the time they reached home, twilight was settling. Elena sent Sophia inside while she performed a perimeter check. Near the barn, she found fresh tire tracks that hadn't been there that morning. Inside the barn, nothing seemed disturbed, but Elena's instincts hummed with warning. In the rear stall, she noticed something odd about the dirt floor. It was too level compared to surrounding areas. Kneeling, she brushed away soil, revealing a seam in concrete beneath. Carefully, she cleared more dirt, uncovering what appeared to be a camouflage trapdoor. When Eleanor applied pressure to one edge, the opposite side rose, revealing a recessed grip. The door opened silently, revealing a metal ladder descending into darkness. Elena retrieved her flashlight and peered down. 15 feet below, a concrete room extended beneath the barn floor. Military-grade equipment lined the walls, communications devices, weapons storage, surveillance monitors. Miguel. This was what he'd meant by good bones, a safe house, an operations center. Elena descended the ladder, moving to a locked metal case against the far wall. It was secured with biometric locks, fingerprint and retinal scan. She pressed her thumb to the reader, unsurprised when it flashed red. Then she positioned her eye before the scanner. The lock clicked open. Miguel had programmed it to recognize her. Inside, Eleanor found a laptop, external hard drives and a sealed envelope with her name in Miguel's handwriting. Eleanor, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home. I'm sorry. More sorry than words can express. What I discovered goes deeper than I imagined. Weapons technology being sold to hostile foreign interests, classified intelligence compromised. The trail leads to people I trusted, people with enough power to make problems disappear. Everything is on the drives. Names, dates, transactions, enough to bring down the entire operation. Use this facility if you need to. Tell Sophia I love her more than anything. And Elena, don't let vengeance consume you. Justice, yes. Vengeance, no. There's a difference. All my love. Miguel. Elena clutched the letter, tears streaming. For the first time since the notification officers had appeared at her door, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of grief. After several minutes, she turned to the laptop. The screen filled with files, surveillance photos, financial records, shipping manifests, and names. One folder was labeled simply Cross. The files revealed extensive documentation on Victor Cross and his development company. Property acquisitions, shell corporations, offshore accounts, and something called Project Phoenix. A surveillance photo showed Cross shaking hands with a distinguished older man in military uniform, General Alexander Morrison, Miguel's former commanding officer. The pieces fell into place. The land acquisitions forming a corridor to the state line, the government surveillance, Jake's accident. This wasn't just about selling technology, it was about establishing a permanent pipeline, and Riverside Ranch sat squarely in the middle. Sounds from above jerked Eleanor from her thoughts. Tires on gravel. Someone had entered the property. She quickly secured the laptop and climbed the ladder. After carefully closing the trap door and spreading dirt over it, she exited the barn. Frank Murphy's Ford was parked near the house, the elderly man speaking with Sophia through the screen door. "Elena," he called, spotting her. "Hope you don't mind the intrusion. Brought over some vegetables from my garden." She relaxed slightly. "That's kind of you, Frank." As they sat at the kitchen table, Frank's gaze fell on Sophia's bruised cheek. His expression darkened. "What happened there, little lady?" Sophia glanced at Elena, who nodded permission. "A boy at school pushed me." Tyler Cross Frank's weathered face hardened. "Cross's nephew, figures." He looked to Elena. "Victor giving you trouble already?" "Nothing I can't handle." Frank studied her. "You military, Elena?" The question caught her off guard. "What makes you say that?" "Way you carry yourself, way you assess threats, takes one to know one." Elena decided on partial truth. "I served." "Miguel too?" Frank nodded. "Cross has been buying land for about a year. Folks who refuse get pressured. Nothing illegal, mind you, just unfortunate circumstances. You seem to know a lot about the situation." Frank's sharp eyes met hers. "I make it my business to know what happens in my valley." "Been here 50 years, he set down his cup. "Cross isn't just developing land, Elena. He's developing infrastructure, the kind used for moving things discreetly." The echo of Jake's assessment sent chills down Eleanor's spine. "What kind of things?" Eleanor asked. "That's the question that got my last neighbor interested in Cross development, right before his accident." Eleanor walked him to the door. "Frank, how well did you know the previous owner?" "Well enough to know he wasn't just a retired colonel looking for quiet fishing. Well enough to know he installed some interesting additions before suddenly deciding to sell. So Frank knew about the bunker or suspected." "Be careful, Elena," he said quietly. "Cross doesn't like obstacles, and he's got friends in high places." After Frank left, Elena secured the house for the night, checking locks, setting simple alarms with fishing line and bells. As she tucked Sophia into bed, her daughter asked the question Elena had been dreading. "Mom, did Dad really die in an accident?" Elena froze. "Why do you ask that, sweetheart?" "Tyler said his uncle told him Dad was a traitor, that he got what he deserved." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "But Dad wasn't bad. He was a hero." Fury and heartbreak warred in Elena's chest. "Your father was a hero. He died protecting people, protecting us." "From what?" Elena chose her words carefully. "From bad people who wanted to hurt others. That's all you need to know right now." "If Dad was protecting us, who's protecting us now?" The question pierced Elena's heart. "I am. Always." After Sophia fell asleep, Elena retrieved her phone and called Jake's number. "Found something," she said when he answered. "Miguel left evidence. Everything needed to expose the operation." Silence. Then, "Hammond's in the middle of it, working with Cross to establish a smuggling corridor. It's worse than we thought. We need to meet, review everything together, not at your place. Too much attention. The bank has a secure room. I can get us in after hours." They arranged to meet the following night. Elena would bring the laptop and drives. Jake would bring his own intelligence. The next morning brought an unwelcome visitor. Deputy Ray Dalton arrived in his sheriff's vehicle, but his bearing lacked Crawford's quiet authority. Younger, with close-cropped dark hair and a gym-built physique. "Morning, Miss Rodriguez," he called with calculated swagger. "Sheriff asked me to check in after yesterday's school incident." Elena set her coffee mug on the porch railing. "That's considerate." Dalton's eyes scanned the property covetously. "Sheriff mentioned you had concerns about Victor Cross. Thought I should let you know Mr. Cross is a pillar of this community, brings in jobs, investment." The message wasn't subtle. "Is that the official position of the sheriff's department?" Dalton's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Just providing context. Small towns depend on men like Cross, and men like Cross depend on small towns not asking questions." Dalton's expression hardened momentarily. "Word of advice, Miss Rodriguez. Millbrook's peaceful. Be ashamed to disrupt that peace." After he left, Elena returned inside, finding Sophia in the hallway with her backpack. "Was that about yesterday?" Sophia asked. Elena knelt to her daughter's level. "Partly. Mostly about people trying to scare us away from our home. Are they going to succeed? Not a chance. Rodriguez women don't scare easily." Sophia's smile was small but genuine. "Dad always said you were the bravest person he ever knew." As they prepared to leave, Elena noticed a dark stain beneath her truck. Someone had punctured her brake line, designed to leak gradually rather than fail immediately. Mechanical sabotage disguised as accidental failure. Elena made a temporary repair with duct tape, mind calculating. Dalton's visit had been a distraction, giving someone time to tamper with her vehicle. Change of plans, Elena decided. We're visiting Mr. Murphy before school. Frank was already working in his garden when they arrived. He straightened as they approached, reading Elena's tense posture. "Everything all right? Need a favor? My truck's brake line has been tampered with." Frank's expression darkened. "When?" "This morning." While Deputy Dalton was providing friendly warnings about not disrupting Millbrook's peace, understanding passed between them, Frank nodded toward his house. "Take my truck. Keys are in the ignition." "I can't ask you to." "You didn't ask," I offered. Frank smiled at Sophia. "Got fresh cookies in the kitchen. And I hear you're quite the artist." After dropping Sophia at school, Elena drove to the sheriff's office. Crawford looked up as she entered, expression shifting to concern. "Problem?" Elena closed the door. "Someone tampered with my brake line this morning, while your deputy was giving me perspective on Cross's community importance." Crawford's face hardened. "Dalton came to see you?" "Wasn't authorized by me." Crawford sighed. "Dalton transferred here 8 months ago. Good record, but lately—" He trailed off. "He's on Cross's payroll," Elena finished. "Can't prove it. Yet." Crawford leaned forward. "What can I do?" "You didn't come here just to report tampering you can't prove." Elena considered how much to reveal. "I've come into possession of information about Cross's operation. Evidence suggesting he's using his acquisitions to establish a corridor for illegal trafficking." Crawford's eyes widened. "What kind of trafficking?" "Weapons technology. Classified military hardware being sold to foreign interests. That's a serious accusation." "I'm aware." Elena held his gaze. "I need to know if I can trust you, Sheriff. What I've uncovered involves high-ranking military personnel." Crawford was silent, weighing his response. "My oath to uphold the law doesn't end at politics or jurisdiction. If Cross is running illegal operations in my county, I want him stopped." Elena nodded, satisfied. "I don't have everything yet. But soon. Whatever you're planning, be careful. Cross has eyes everywhere, and Dalton isn't the only one on his payroll." That evening, Elena met Jake at the bank. For an hour, they combed through Miguel's files, building a comprehensive picture of Project Phoenix. The sophistication was impressive, the reach disturbing. General Morrison provided access to classified technology. Victor Cross handled transportation through his property corridor. Various officials ensured oversight remained blind. "We need to get this to the right people," Jake said finally. Elena thought of a former commanding officer in naval intelligence. "I might know someone. Someone I trust completely." Before Jake could respond, they heard footsteps from the main banking floor, multiple sets moving with practiced stealth. They were being surrounded. Elena drew her weapon, Jake following suit. They positioned themselves on either side of the conference room door. The door burst open, a tactical entry. Elena struck the first man with her weapon's butt, dropping him instantly. Jake disarmed the second, but the third attacker fired. Mike grunted, staggering backward, blood blooming on his shirt. Elena fired twice, dropping the shooter, then dragged Jake behind the conference table as more attackers converged. "Go!" Jake gasped, pressing a thumb drive into her hand. "Everything's on here. Get it out. Not without you." "Too late for me," Jake coughed, blood staining his lips. "Finish it, Elena." For Miguel, a flashbang grenade skittered into the room. Elena turned away, shielding her eyes as it detonated. Through ringing ears, she heard more attackers entering. Jake pushed her toward a ventilation grate. "Go." Now. Elena made the tactical choice, knowing staying meant death for both. She pried open the grate and slipped into the narrow duct as gunfire erupted behind her. She crawled rapidly through the ventilation system, guided by building schematics she'd memorized. The shaft led to a utility room, and from there to a service exit opening into an alley. Elena emerged cautiously, weapon ready. The alley appeared clear, but she could hear vehicles converging on the bank. She moved quickly through back streets, avoiding main roads. Jake was likely dead or captured. The thumb drive in her pocket contained evidence powerful people would kill to suppress. Elena changed direction, heading for the one place in Millbrook she was certain remained secure, the hidden bunker beneath her barn. She moved cross-country, using skills honed through years of special operations. The rural landscape provided ample concealment as she made her way toward Riverside Ranch. Approaching from the rear, Elena noted with grim satisfaction that her precautions had been justified. 2 black SUVs were parked on the access road, men in tactical gear establishing a perimeter. They expected her to return home directly. Instead, she circled wide, approaching the barn from the creek side. Moving from shadow to shadow, Elena avoided the search patterns, slipping into the barn through a loose board she'd left unrepaired for this purpose. Inside, she opened the hidden trapdoor and descended into the bunker. The space hummed with quiet energy as she activated Miguel's systems. While transferring the thumb drive's contents to the secure server, she checked surveillance feeds. The men surrounding her house wore tactical gear with no identifying markings, private military contractors. Through hidden cameras, Eleanor could see Frank Murphy in the living room, shotgun across his lap, watching the front door with patient vigilance. He was alive but surrounded, and upstairs, Sophia was hopefully still asleep, unaware of the danger. Elena's hands tightened on the console. She forced herself to think tactically, to assess rather than react. Elena activated the communication system and made the call that would change everything. The secure line connected after 3 rings. Admiral Jackson. Sierra Echo Alpha Lima, requesting Broken Arrow Protocol, Elena said, using recognition codes from her active duty days. Authentication Tango 7-4 Charlie Oscar. A pause. Authentication confirmed. Proceed. Target is Project Phoenix. Military technology smuggling operation. Evidence in transit now. Elena initiated the secure file transfer. Miguel Rodriguez initiated the investigation, paid for it with his life. Admiral Jackson's voice softened. Rodriguez was one of our best. His death was concerning. It was murder by the same people now trying to kill me. Current situation: compromised, surrounded, civilians at risk. Extraction options? Negative. I'm seeing this through. Need remote backup only. Understood. Time frame: 24 hours maximum. Authorized. You are hereby reactivated under Article 47.3 Special Operations Directive. Full autonomy. The connection terminated. Elena turned back to surveillance feeds. The search team had reached the barn. Time was running out. Elena gathered essential equipment: extra ammunition, combat knife, communications gear, medical kit. As she prepared, her gaze fell on a framed photograph. Her, Miguel, and Sophia at the lake last summer, all smiling. The men above were getting closer to discovering the trapdoor. Elena activated the bunker's secondary systems and moved to the hidden exit, a narrow tunnel leading to a storm drain on the property's eastern boundary. But a final glance at the monitor showed lights coming on in Sophia's bedroom. Her daughter was awake, and the men had discovered Frank in the living room. Elena made her decision instantly. The tunnel would wait. Her family needed her now. She ascended the ladder to the barn, emerging silently into darkness. The two searchers had moved on. Eleanor slipped out into the October night, every sense alert. From her position at the cornfield's edge, Eleanor assessed the tactical situation. 4 armed men had established a perimeter. 2 more guarded entrances. Inside, she could see Frank being held in the living room. Upstairs, light burned in Sophia's bedroom. Eleanor touched her combat knife, feeling its weight. Her handgun held 13 rounds, 6 targets outside, unknown number inside. The odds weren't ideal, but Elena had operated with worse. She keyed her throat mic, activating comms synced to hidden speakers in Sophia's room, a precaution she'd installed, never believing she'd need it. Mockingbird, this is Nest. Code red. Acknowledge. Seconds passed. Then through her earpiece, Nest, this is Mockingbird. Code red acknowledged. Relief flooded Elena's system. Sophia was alone and alert. Mockingbird, execute thunderstorm protocol. Confirm when secure. Executing thunderstorm now. Elena watched the house, counting seconds. Thunderstorm meant Sophia would lock her bedroom door, then enter the hidden compartment in her closet, a reinforced space with deadbolt accessible only through a concealed panel. Mockingbird secure, came Sophia's voice after 53 seconds. Mom, there are bad men in the house. I know, sweetheart. I'm going to take care of it. Stay silent until I come for you. Remember our sign. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks. Silent now. Eleanor surveyed the property, formulating her approach. The men were professionals, maintaining proper distance and fields of fire. Taking them head-on would be suicide. She needed to change the equation. From her tactical vest, Eleanor removed a sonic disruptor and tossed it toward the far side of the property. 10 seconds later, the device emitted a high-pitched sound mimicking a perimeter alarm. 2 men immediately moved to investigate, 4 external targets remaining. Elena circled through the cornfield, coming up behind the man guarding the rear entrance. Moving with years of training, she closed the distance silently. One hand clamped over his mouth, the other driving her knife beneath his ribs. A swift, silent kill. She relieved him of his radio and sidearm, 3 external targets. The radio crackled. Position 4, check in. Elena pitched her voice low. Position 4, clear. Confirmed status, Mason. Elena couldn't risk another response. Element of surprise was diminishing. Circling toward the front, she spotted a perimeter guard checking his watch. Distracted. She lined up her shot carefully, using the suppressor attached to her handgun. The round struck center mass. He dropped silently. 2 external targets. The remaining guards were now alert, having lost contact with teammates. Elena heard urgent chatter through the radio. They were calling for backup. She spotted the 2 men who'd investigated the sonic disruptor returning. Elena allowed them to pass, then took them both with consecutive shots. Clean, professional. The final external guard was frantically reporting through his radio when the front door opened. Victor Cross himself stepped onto the porch, flanked by Deputy Dalton. "What's happening?" Cross demanded. The guard turned. "We've lost contact with 4 men, sir. Possible hostile on property." Cross's face tightened. "Find her. Now." Elena adjusted position, seeking better angles. Through the open door, she could see Frank seated in the living room, hands bound, cut on his forehead but otherwise unharmed. 2 armed men stood guard inside. Cross turned to Dalton. "Get the girl." "She's our leverage." Ice crystallized in Elena's veins. Time for subtlety was over. She took the shot, dropping the final external guard. Cross and Dalton ducked back inside, slamming the door. Elena heard shouting, furniture being moved to barricade entrances. 7 targets inside, Cross, Dalton, and 5 guards. And they were heading for Sophia. Elena sprinted toward the house, abandoning stealth for speed. She reached the back door, finding it secured. No time for finesse. She fired twice into the lock, shattering it, then kicked the door open. The kitchen was empty, but she could hear movement in the living room. Elena pressed against the wall beside the doorway, using a small mirror to glimpse inside. Frank was still seated, gun pressed to his temple by one guard. Cross stood near the fireplace, speaking urgently into a phone. Dalton was heading for the stairs, going for Sophia. Elena made her decision. She rounded the doorway, weapon raised, and fired twice. The first round caught the man holding Frank. The second struck the guard near the window, who managed to return fire before falling. Pain flared along Elena's left arm. The bullet grazed her. She ignored it, dropping into a crouch as Cross dove for cover behind the sofa. Dalton, hearing gunfire, paused on the stairs, drawing his service weapon. "Drop it, Rodriguez," he shouted. "You're outnumbered." "That math doesn't add up from where I'm standing, Deputy." Cross's voice came from behind the sofa. "Be reasonable, Miss Rodriguez. We don't want to hurt your daughter." "Then you shouldn't have come to my home," Elena answered, voice deadly calm. "Last chance to surrender, Cross." A harsh laugh. "You're in no position to make threats." Elena glanced at Frank, making eye contact. The old soldier gave an almost imperceptible nod. "I'm not threatening, Cross. I'm promising." In one fluid motion, Frank drove his shoulder backward, toppling his chair and creating distraction. Elena used the opportunity to fire at Dalton, catching him in the shoulder and sending him tumbling down the stairs. Cross fired blindly from behind the sofa. Elena ducked, bullets splintering the doorframe. She rolled to a new position, coming up with a clear shot at Cross's exposed leg. She took it. Cross howled as the bullet shattered his kneecap. His weapon clattered away. Elena approached cautiously, weapon trained on his head. "Call them off, Cross. Whoever's upstairs going after my daughter." Blood drained from Cross's face. "Hanson!" he shouted. "Stand down! Abort!" Silence from upstairs, then heavy footsteps moving toward Sophia's room. "They're not listening," Eleanor said, voice ice. "Bad management." She turned toward the stairs, but Dalton lunged at her from his fallen position. The impact sent them crashing into the coffee table. Elena's weapon skittered across the floor. Dalton was bigger, but Elena was trained combat specialist. She drove her elbow into his wounded shoulder, causing him to howl. As he recoiled, she slammed her forehead into his nose, feeling cartilage crack. Dalton still managed to wrap hands around her throat. Elena's vision began to dim as his thumbs pressed into her trachea. She reached blindly, fingers finding a shard of glass from the shattered table. With one decisive movement, she drove it into Dalton's neck. His grip loosened instantly. Elena pushed him off, gasping, blood coating her hands. She scrambled for her weapon, retrieving it just as another guard appeared at the top of the stairs. Elena fired without hesitation. The man tumbled down the staircase. From above she heard splintering wood. Someone was trying to break into Sophia's room. "Hold on, Frank," Elena said. "I'm getting Sophia." She took the stairs two at a time, ignoring pain in her arm and bruising on her throat. At the landing, Elena paused, listening. Another crack of splintering wood from Sophia's room. Through the partially open door, she could see a large man with his back to her, attempting to break through the closet door with his rifle butt. "She's in here, sir," he called. "Some kind of hidden compartment." From the stairs came a voice Elena recognized. "General Morrison. Get her out, Hanson." "Now." Elena stepped into the doorway, weapon raised. "Step away from the closet." Hanson spun around, raising his rifle. Elena fired twice, center mass. He dropped to his knees, then face forward. Elena moved into the room, using the bed for cover as she anticipated Morrison's approach. The general appeared in the doorway, military bearing unmistakable despite civilian clothes. He held a handgun with comfortable familiarity. "Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez," Morrison said, as if greeting her at a military function. "I was hoping we could resolve this more amicably." By sending armed men into my home, threatening my daughter. Morrison's expression remained impassive. Your husband left you in a precarious position, Chief. He should have known better than to involve family in national security matters. Don't speak about Miguel, Elena snarled. He discovered your treason, your weapons smuggling. He was going to expose you, so you had him killed. A regrettable necessity, Morrison admitted without remorse. Miguel was exceptional, but naive about our world's realities. The reality where generals sell classified technology to America's enemies? Morrison's eyes narrowed. You have no idea what you're talking about. Project Phoenix serves American interests. The offshore accounts, the money trail. This isn't about national security. It's about greed. Something dangerous flickered in Morrison's eyes. You're as naive as your husband. The world doesn't operate on black and white morality. Sometimes maintaining American dominance requires gray areas. There's nothing gray about murder, General. Morrison's weapon remained steady. Put down your weapon, Chief. Your daughter is still in that closet, still within reach. Don't make me demonstrate how serious I am. Elena felt cold fury wash through her. You really think I'd let you walk out after what you did to Miguel? After threatening Sophia. I think you're a mother who wants her daughter to live, Morrison replied. The evidence is contained. Coleman is dead. Whatever you think you know died with your husband. A smile touched Elena's lips. That's where you're wrong, General. Everything, every file, every transaction, every name has been transmitted to Admiral Jackson at Naval Intelligence. It's over. Uncertainty flickered across Morrison's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Jackson has reactivated me under Article 47.3. Do you know what that means? Eleanor didn't wait for his answer. It means I have full authorization to eliminate national security threats with extreme prejudice. Morrison's expression hardened. If you've done what you claim, you've signed your daughter's death warrant. My organization reaches further than you imagine. You're assuming you're leaving this room alive, Elena replied, voice deadly calm. Morrison smiled thinly. Are you really prepared to execute a general officer in cold blood? Think of the consequences. I'm thinking of the consequences of letting a traitor walk free. Lower your weapon, General. Now. For a moment, neither moved. Then Morrison's expression shifted. Elena recognized the look, a tactical decision being made. Morrison lunged sideways, firing as he moved toward the closet. Elena fired simultaneously, her round catching him in the chest. The general's bullet splintered woodwork beside her. Morrison staggered, genuine surprise crossing his features. He fired again, wild, the round embedding in the ceiling. Elena's second shot hit him in the throat. Morrison dropped to his knees, gun falling from nerveless fingers, blood bubbling from his lips as he tried to speak. Elena approached cautiously, weapon still trained. That was for Miguel, she said quietly. Morrison slumped forward, dead. Elena moved quickly to the closet, giving the signal. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks. She heard the deadbolt slide back and the hidden panel swung open. Sophia emerged, pale but composed. Mom! Sophia flung herself into Elena's arms. You're bleeding! Elena held her daughter tight, adrenaline beginning to ebb. Just a scratch, I'm okay. She pulled back, examining Sophia. Are you hurt? Sophia shook her head. I did exactly what you taught me. I stayed quiet. I was brave. You were perfect, absolutely perfect. Heavy footsteps on the stairs reminded Eleanor the situation wasn't fully resolved. She positioned Sophia behind her, raising her weapon toward the doorway. Frank Cooper appeared, shotgun in hand, blood trickling from his forehead but otherwise intact. House is clear, he reported. Cross secured downstairs, tried to escape but didn't get far with that knee. Elena lowered her weapon, relief washing through her. Thank you, Frank. for everything. The old soldier nodded, then noticed Sophia peering around Elena's leg. His weathered face softened. "Hello there, little lady. That was some mighty fine hiding." Sophia managed a small smile. "Mom taught me." "Your mom's quite a woman," Frank agreed. "Now what do you say we get you somewhere safe while the grown-ups clean up?" Elena checked her watch. The operation had taken less than 15 minutes, but backup could arrive any moment. "We need to move. Cross's people will be looking when he doesn't check in." Frank nodded. "My place. They don't know about our connection." Elena quickly gathered essentials. Sophia's favorite stuffed animal, change of clothes, photograph of Miguel from the nightstand. As they prepared to leave, Sophia asked quietly, "Is he the one who hurt Dad?" Elena considered lying, offering comforting fiction, but Sophia deserved truth, even painful truth. Yes, he was. Sophia studied Morrison's body with eyes too old for her years. "Good," she said simply, taking Eleanor's hand. "Let's go." They descended the stairs, stepping carefully around bodies. In the living room, Victor Cross sat propped against the wall, makeshift tourniquet around his shattered knee, hands bound with zip ties. His face was ashen from blood loss, but his eyes burned with hatred. "You have no idea what you've done, Rodriguez," he spat. "The people I work for—" "Save it, Cross," Elena interrupted coldly. "Your operation is exposed. Evidence has been transmitted to federal authorities. Morrison is dead. It's over." Cross's expression shifted to calculation. "We can make a deal. I have resources, connections. Name your price." "You think this is about money?" Elena felt fresh contempt. "You helped kill my husband, threatened my daughter. There's not enough money in the world." "Then what do you want?" Elena met his gaze directly. "Justice." She turned away, guiding Sophia toward the door. Behind them, Cross called desperately, "You can't just leave me here. I need medical attention." "Sheriff Crawford will be here soon," Elena replied without turning. "Whether you're alive when he arrives is up to fate." Outside, the night air was crisp and clean. Frank led them to his truck parked behind the barn, where attackers hadn't discovered it. "I notified Crawford," he said as they climbed in. "Used emergency frequency from my old CB radio. He's on his way with state police backup." Elena settled Sophia between them on the bench seat. "What's the plan now?" "Get to your place. Secure position. Wait for Admiral Jackson's cleanup team. They should be here by morning." As they drove down the gravel driveway, Eleanor looked back at the ranch house, illuminated by moonlight. Blood had been spilled there, lives taken, reckoning delivered. The peaceful home she'd hoped to create for Sophia now bore scars of violence and death. Yet strangely, she felt no regret. Only grim satisfaction that Miguel's killers had faced justice and Sophia was safe beside her. They'd nearly reached the main road when headlights appeared ahead, approaching rapidly. Frank tensed, reaching for his shotgun. "Easy," Elena cautioned, recognizing the vehicle. "It's Crawford." The sheriff's cruiser skidded to a stop beside them. Crawford emerged, weapon drawn but pointed downward, expression tense until he recognized the truck's occupants. "Elena." Relief flooded his features. "When I got Frank's message, I feared the worst." "Cross sent a team to the house," Elena explained tersely. "Morrison was with them." "They're neutralized." Crawford absorbed this professionally. "Morrison? The general?" "The same. He's dead. Cross is alive for now. Gunshot wound to the knee. Multiple hostiles down inside and outside the house. The sheriff holstered his weapon. State police are 10 minutes out. FBI en route from Billings, but they're at least an hour away." "There's a complication," Elena said. "Jake Sullivan was working with me. Federal undercover. We were ambushed at the bank. He's either dead or captured." Crawford swore softly. "I'll send units to the bank immediately." "Admiral Jackson is sending a team," Elena added. "Naval intelligence. They'll be here by morning to handle jurisdictional issues. Crawford raised an eyebrow. Naval intelligence. Elena, what exactly have you stumbled into? Not stumbled, Sheriff. Hunted. This was about bringing my husband's killers to justice. The rest is classified. Crawford studied her, then nodded acceptance. Where are you heading? Frank's place until Jackson's team arrives. I'll post deputies at the perimeter. The sheriff's weathered face softened. Sometimes you can tell when someone's fighting on the right side. His gaze shifted to Sophia. Hello there, young lady. You doing okay? Sophia nodded solemnly. Mom took care of the bad men. I bet she did, Crawford replied with gentle understanding. Your mom is quite something. More headlights appeared, the state police convoy approaching. Crawford straightened. Go. I'll handle things here. Keep your phone on. Elena nodded gratefully, and Frank eased the truck back into motion. Frank's farmhouse was smaller than Elena's, but better maintained. He ushered them inside, immediately securing doors and windows with practiced efficiency. Spare bedroom upstairs, he said. Should be comfortable enough. Elena guided Sophia upstairs, helping her change into clean clothes and settle into the unfamiliar bed. The girl was exhausted, adrenaline crash hitting hard. Will we go back home? Sophia asked as Elena tucked the blankets around her. Elena brushed hair from her daughter's forehead. I don't know, sweetheart. Not right away. Because of what happened? Partly. The house needs to be cleaned up, and we might need to go somewhere else for a while. Sophia considered this. Because there might be more bad men looking for us. Elena forgot how perceptive her daughter was. There might be, but not for long. The admiral I told you about is going to help us. Like Dad's boss. Something like that. Elena smoothed the blanket. Try to sleep now. I'll be right downstairs. Sophia caught her hand as she rose. Mom, did we win? The question, so simple yet profound, caught Elena off guard. Had they won? Morrison was dead, cross-captured, the operation exposed, but at what cost? Jake Sullivan, the sanctity of their home, Sophia's innocence. Yes, Elena said finally, we won. Your dad can rest easy now. Sophia nodded, satisfied, and closed her eyes. Within minutes, her breathing deepened into sleep. Downstairs, Elena found Frank brewing coffee. He'd bandaged his forehead cut and changed into clean clothes. The old soldier looked tired but alert. She asleep? He asked, pouring a mug and sliding it across the counter. Elena nodded, accepting the coffee gratefully. Out like a light. It's been a lot. Kids are resilient, Frank observed, more than we give them credit for. They sat in companionable silence, the night's events settling around them like dust after a storm. What happens now? Frank asked finally. Elena sipped her coffee, considering. Jackson's team arrives, secures evidence, handles aftermath. Cross goes to prison if he survives. And you and Sophia? Witness protection probably, at least until they've rounded up everyone involved in Project Phoenix. Elena stared into her mug. Morrison was right about one thing. Their organization has reach. There will be others coming once they realize what's happened. Frank nodded, understanding. You'll disappear. New names, new lives. It's the safest option for Sophia. The old soldier studied her. And is that what you want? To disappear. Elena thought about it. The prospect of running, hiding, looking over her shoulder for years, living under assumed identity, always watchful, always waiting. No, she admitted, but I'll do whatever keeps Sophia safe. Frank's weathered face creased thoughtfully. Might be another way. Elena raised an eyebrow. Admiral Jackson, Frank said. How much pull does he have? Considerable. He's high up in naval intelligence, has the ear of the Joint Chiefs. Frank nodded slowly. Then maybe instead of hiding, you go on the offensive. Become the official face of this investigation, so public that any move against you would be immediately suspect. Elena considered the suggestion. Bold, risky, potentially brilliant. Hide in plain sight. Exactly, Frank leaned forward. The people behind this operation thrive in shadows. Drag them into the light, and they lose their power. The strategy appealed to Elena's tactical mind. Hiding would protect them short-term, but leave them perpetually vulnerable. Going public would create immediate risk, but potentially neutralize the long-term threat. Before she could respond, her phone rang, an unknown number with Washington, D.C. area code. Rodriguez. Chief, Admiral Jackson's voice was clear despite the late hour. Sit, Rep. Elena provided a concise summary. Jackson listened without interruption, then issued rapid-fire instructions. Clean Team ETA 0600. FBI briefed on Sullivan's status. Naval intelligence taking lead due to military connection. State Department containing diplomatic fallout from weapons transfers. Understood, sir. A pause. Then Jackson's tone softened. How's your daughter, Elena? Shaken but resilient, sir. About our future arrangements. Already in motion, witness protection being prepared, new identities, relocation, the works. Elena took a deep breath. With respect, sir, I'd like to propose an alternative. She outlined Frank's suggestion, expanding on strategic advantages of becoming the public face rather than disappearing. Jackson listened thoughtfully. It's unorthodox, high risk. High reward, Elena countered. We go public. We control the narrative. Any move against us becomes front-page news. It would mean testifying, press conferences, congressional hearings. Elena felt resolve strengthen. This is the right call, sir. I know it is. Very well, Jackson agreed finally. I'll make arrangements. Press conference tomorrow afternoon. We'll position you as the widow who uncovered the conspiracy, the grieving mother who brought down a corruption ring. Media will eat it up. And Sophia. Minimal exposure, but enough to ensure her safety through visibility. Elena nodded, relief washing through her. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, Chief. The hard part is just beginning. After ending the call, Elena relayed the plan to Frank, who nodded approval. Smart move. They can't touch you if the whole country is watching. That's the hope. Elena stood, feeling the night's events catching up with her. I should check on Sophia. Frank waved her toward the stairs. Go. I'll keep watch down here. Upstairs, Elena found Sophia sleeping peacefully, one arm wrapped around the stuffed rabbit Miguel had given her. In sleep, her face relaxed from tension, looking once again like the carefree child she should have been. Elena settled into the chair beside the bed, service weapon within easy reach, keeping vigil as night deepened. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Press conferences, official statements, the beginning of a very public battle against Project Phoenix's remnants. But for now, in this quiet moment, Elena allowed herself to acknowledge what they'd accomplished. Miguel's killers had faced justice. The weapons smuggling operation was exposed. Sophia was safe. It wasn't complete victory. Jake Sullivan's fate remained unknown, though Elena feared the worst. The wider conspiracy would take time to fully unravel, and their lives would never return to simple peace. As dawn broke over the Montana hills, painting the sky in watercolor hues, Sophia stirred awake. "Mom," she whispered, "is it over?" "Almost," Elena replied, sitting on the bed's edge. "But we're not running anymore, Sophia. We're going to tell the world what happened to Dad, make sure everyone knows he was a hero." Sophia sat up, suddenly alert. "Really? We don't have to hide?" "No more hiding," Elena promised. "From now on, we stand our ground." A small smile bloomed on Sophia's face. the first genuine smile Elena had seen since Miguel's death. Dad would like that. Yes, Elena agreed, throat tight with emotion. He would. Outside, car doors slammed. Footsteps approached the house. Frank's voice carried from downstairs, greeting newcomers. Elena helped Sophia dress, then knelt to look her daughter in the eye. Ready for what comes next? Sophia squared her small shoulders, a gesture so reminiscent of Miguel it made Elena's heart ache. Ready, Mom. Together they descended the stairs to meet the dawn of a new day. Not the peaceful life Elena had sought in bringing Sophia to Riverside Ranch, but perhaps something equally valuable, a life of purpose, of truth, of justice served. As they stepped onto the porch, the rising sun painted the eastern sky in shades of gold and amber. In the fields beyond Frank's property, winter wheat stirred in the morning breeze, resilient despite frost, promising growth even after the harshest season. Elena put her arm around Sophia's shoulders, drawing strength from her daughter's presence as they faced the waiting officials. The battle wasn't over, in many ways just beginning. But for the first time since Miguel's death, Elena felt something like hope stirring within her. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Standing their ground, honoring Miguel's memory, building something new from the ashes of what they'd lost. In Montana's endless sky, justice had bloomed, and in its wake, perhaps something more enduring could grow. Truth, and finally, peace.